This episode of the Multi-Point Inspection Podcast is brought to you by Vesperio. Vesperio's Performance Academy offers custom-tailored solutions for service advisors and leaders. Previously on the Multi-Point Inspection Podcast.
What we're doing is just bringing a level of clarity to our customers, a level of education about how we do and what we do. Just drive home value. That's very high on customers' lists is value. Getting an equitable exchange for your time and treasure for the services provided. Instead of having, 3 or 4 or 5 separate vendors, we chose to go through Reynolds just for unity and integration and just to eliminate friction and bottlenecks in the system.
In episode 28 of the Multi-Point Inspection Podcast, we left Richard Lupo of Appletree Honda Acura just as he was implementing a revamp of his fixed operations, focusing on customer convenience using Reynolds & Reynolds products. And fresh off the Reynolds & Reynolds Amplify 2024 Summit, I thought we should check back in with Richard as well as with some Reynolds & Reynolds team members.
My name is Jeff Adams. I'm Director of Product Management for Fixed Operations at Reynolds & Reynolds.
My name is Cory. I am a supervisor with our product management group that oversees some of our DMS applications and as well as GoMoto.
My name is Richard Lupo, and I am the fixed manager for Appletree Honda, Appletree Acura in Western North Carolina in the Asheville market.
Sure. My name is Jeff Adams. I'm Director of Product Management for Fixed Operations at Reynolds & Reynolds.
My name is Cory. I am a supervisor with our product management group that oversees some of our DMS applications and as well as GoMoto.
My name is Richard Lupo, and I am the fixed manager for Appletree Honda, Appletree Acura in Western North Carolina in the Asheville market.
Awesome. This isn't on the outline, but Amplify 2024 just happened. Richard, you were there. Anybody want to speak to that before we get going?
Yeah, and I just returned from Amplify 2024, a Reynolds & Reynolds event, and had a great time, fantastic time. Was able to meet with all of the different sectors that Reynolds had there at the expo. We had Spark AI, which is a tool they're developing. Attended a breakout session with Law, GoMoto, American Guardian Warranty Systems, as well as TSD, and spent some time with each one of those product managers that were there. Had a fantastic time. Spent some time with Stosh, doing some breakout session on some fixed best practices. Very interesting, very good time, and just a first-class event that was put on by Reynolds, and I certainly will be attending next year, no question.
Guys, I'm just going to go down this outline. I hope you have it in front of you because I got it like 2 hours ago. So the 4 golden metrics in fixed ops, a new report. Anyone want to speak to that?
So, Jeff, if you want to lead on that, I've
Sure.
had a chance. Go ahead.
Yeah, the way we like to think about things is number one, dealerships sell hours. That's what they that's the thing that they've got to sell. Not only cars, but and not only parts, but what the technicians do is just hours. So the more hours you sell, obviously, the more money you'll make. But you don't want to sell those hours cheaply. So you want to make sure that you've got kind of the highest rate that you can. What your market will bear, which is the effective labor rate. And ultimately, all that leads to profit as well. So, making sure that that you're being efficient in how you track things, and all that works together, obviously, just to make money. So, those are kind of the main things that when we look at our product successful, our dealership successful, that's what we look at, and for years and years, we've been doing studies, and really kind of culminated with this, with service price guides and with advanced service and a lot of our products. We've just said, let's make sure that these products are actually moving the needle on those most important pieces. I remember the first time I did an SPG study years ago. It was kind of stunning what the difference was between people that use the products and people who don't use the products. And so, that's the great thing about being the DMS is we have a lot of data and we can compare a lot of things. So that's where this study came from.
I had a chance to review the study. I didn't get a chance to delve into the white papers and some of the reports yet, but certainly agree with the conclusions. And I'm proud to say that we are exceeding the averages and the metrics in every way that is published in the study at Appletree. And we do it with the assistance of a full suite of Reynolds products. Almost every single one that's listed as tools in the study to help are things that we incorporate daily here into our process.
Yeah, we did a study a long time ago where we looked at the number of products that a dealership had that were Reynolds products, and it was a nice stair step on all those metrics as well. So the more products that a dealership had, the higher everything was, including customer retention was a big thing that we looked at. So yeah, this new study falls right in line with everything that we've seen historically.
I have to say, you guys had to drag me kicking and screaming to set up SPG many years ago on blue screen. It was quite the undertaking many years ago, but we certainly realized the value right away of it. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I've been involved with SPG since 2006, and when I first started kind of tracking SPG, the average dealer used it about 500 times a month. Now the average dealership uses about 3,000 times a month. So, and you're right. Originally, it was trying to convince people that it actually worked. That, hey, is it even possible that you can get a to-the-penny estimate with all the complexities in the automobile industry? And once everybody kind of bought onto, it's absolutely feasible. Now dealerships can't live without it. And that's always, service price guides has always been kind of I call it the center of the universe. If you've got service price guides, everything else kind of springs off of that. And that's also a warning. If you don't have service price guides dialed in, that means you're always having to kind of tweak stuff. So it's definitely worth the effort to make sure that if something's not quite right, give us a call. We can get it fixed for you. And it takes seconds. And a lot of times that's just the kind of the first step in really making things more efficient and more profitable.
And eating in off of that, another element that we look at is like even after customers come over to Reynolds, and so they did an analysis over the last year with some data points, and overall, like the impact on profitability, the overall dealership gross was about 10% higher when we did some analysis looking backwards, right? And that included across the board, whether that was an increase in effective labor rate, whether that was an increase in hours per RO, like all of those kind of key metrics, because of how so closely intertwined all of the different things that happen within the platform are, it takes out a lot of the complexities that happen, absent of a good process to be able to get that information and be able to use it for make more money.
That's what we're here for.
Well, Jeff and Cory, I'm sure you want nothing more than people to use nothing but Reynolds all the time. Richard, what, just from a layman's perspective, from me, if you can one-stop shop anything, it's going to make things easier. But how has that been on your end, having the same company with so many products?
Well, when we arrived here about 3 years ago, just under 3 years ago, I moved to Appletree. And we had a choice to make after an initial evaluation of what was happening, and look for opportunities for improvement. We identified many areas that had opportunities, and we had a choice to make between choosing 5, 6, 7 different vendors, working with them separately, and then trying to get them all to work together and integrate to Reynolds. With Reynolds. And so we made a conscious choice to go with as many Reynolds products as possible. It streamlines the process. Everything integrates. And so from that perspective, it has just been, it's been great. We can always count on Reynolds support. I was thinking back to that SPG install many years ago, and Guy Martino was there, and we did some work about a year ago, and Guy was our point man still. You guys have done a fantastic job with retaining great talent. Anytime that you call, they get on and they solve your problem almost with ease most of the time. Your product specialists know what they're doing, and when you have a proliferation of a bunch of different vendors, you never really know what you. The consistency that Reynolds provides us with the support it makes a huge difference. Our product manager will be here tomorrow. Andrew will be visiting the store tomorrow, and we've made some adjustments in our payroll, and he's going to work out some custom reporting for us that's going to help us with payroll integration. And just through and through, our relationship with Reynolds has just been fantastic over the years.
Well, I guess if you're dealing with a vendor that that's helping you with customer service, their customer service better be top notch as well, right? It's kind of baked in the cake, right?
It better be.
Absolutely. And we've got great people, right? Like that's, I can tell you, I've been with Reynolds for 19 years. I started on the group that does, SPG installation and consulting, and was fortunate enough to move over to the product side of things, right? So Jeff was one of my mentors, very early on around, how a lot of the things work. But, to Richard's point, we've got some awesome people. I'm fortunate enough to be able to work in the same office as Guy. He is, and to echo some of that too, is like another thing that Reynolds is really big about is, developing our associates, right? So, Jeff has been promoted a couple of times, right? He's our director. He started out as one of the product managers. Guy has recently been promoted. So he helps oversee some of the teams that do the ongoing, consulting and support. So, from those aspects of it too, organizationally, we really do look for, opportunities to help bring people up and help grow the organization overall. And especially in, the office in Tampa where Service Price Guides is supported out of, we have a tremendous resource of folks that are, they get fixed ops, right? In order to work here, pretty much they have to have spent time in a dealership. And so that gives them kind of that laser focus around, what's real and what's not, right? Because it's easy to go say, here's ideally how it's going to be. And, if you've been there in the trenches, then you understand a lot of the challenges that are experienced. So, I think that's another one of the key areas that helps us be successful and helps our dealers be successful.
And one of the things that's, you get sometimes some of the startups, you don't always know what you're going to get with the support, and Reynolds generally when they roll a product out, it's pretty close to being finished. I've been involved in some beta testing over the years with some of their things, and by the time they roll it out, it's been pretty tested. So with some of the startups, you get sometimes more cutting edge stuff that maybe not quite as tested, and so anyway, it was a choice we had many years ago. Several years ago at this point, and we consciously chose to stay with Reynolds across the board, and we continue to invest. Cory, I see you got a GoMoto in the background there. We took delivery recently of our GoMoto, and we're doing a build out around that. We're going to be able to offer our customers 24-hour access, pick up, drop off. We're integrating it with our rental cars, payment options for customers. And we're really looking forward to that. The build out commences in about 2 weeks to have access to that. And then once we have the process worked out, we will roll that out to our customers. So, and those are the things that were detailed in the report. Some of the conclusions in the report, more tools you give your guys and gals in the front lines, and if you utilize them, the better your results are going to be. And I think that we are a case study in that here at Apple Tree. So I was looking over, I've got the study pulled up over here on another monitor, and just the increases in the effective labor rates, the hours per RO, as you add these tools, it only positively affects your bottom line. And we've seen tremendous growth over the last few years at Apple Tree, and historic growth. And we're probably in the neighborhood of 25 or between 25 and 30 record months in a row. And Apple Tree's been in business over 50 years. So owned by the same family in the same place. And it's a significant operation. They've done a fantastic job in the community with the business, and our fixed operations is realizing historic performance levels at this point. And all of that has coincided with bringing on Reynolds and partnering with them in nearly every facet of our fixed operations.
The next thing on the list is talking about customer experience, and this has been amplified in all industries ever since COVID. I was in the grocery business during COVID, and of course, we had to pivot, delivery and all kinds of things. With dealerships, that is most important. You have to be hyper focused on that to keep from losing to the independents. You guys want to speak about that?
Cory, we'll go back to that GoMoto. That's an enhancement that we've got here, and I know it's something that certainly is a customer retention and customer satisfaction tool. And we are learning more and more about the GoMoto and how to implement it in our process every day. But I'm sure you can probably tell us more about some of your successes with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Brandon, that's it's spot on, right? Because COVID changed a lot of things for a lot of people, right? And whether that was just how you operate or even, personally, there's a lot of people that they just work different now, right? That's as crazy as it sounds. And so GoMoto really kind of came in right as COVID was hitting. And so, one of the things that operationally we did is we looked at, what are the things that we're always kind of on that, what can we do better, right? It's good, but what can we make it do better? And so to even lean in some of the things that we did from an integration standpoint, right? We had kind of basic integration to Era, but we've built that out where now we can tie into some of the information that's available, like Jeff said, the center of the universe of service price guides, where we can get maintenance menu information from SPG and some of the details around previously declined services, or we can strip it down to where it's just a very simple process, right? It just depends on kind of what that gear, what the gear is for the customer at the store and kind of your demographic and who you're trying to solve. We actually did a survey around specifically around kiosks. And one of the facets of the survey was looking at kind of that check-in speed, right? And in coming out of the grocery side of things, right? Down here we have Publix, right? Publix, huge customer service, the cult following, right? Pub subs and all the things that go along with them. But one of their biggest focuses is around high service level. And if we get more than 3 people or so in a checkout line, we're going to call more people up to do checkouts. And so as we looked at some of the things, even with GoMoto, how can we do more with less resources sometimes, right? It's hard to find service technicians and it's hard to find service advisors and, all of these challenges, but to echo Richard's point, it hasn't slowed down, right? You got 30 months of, record service. So we have all this stuff that we're trying to get through the channel, and how can we work smarter about things? And so GoMoto really is one of those, I think one of those areas where, because we're offloading some of that kind of the upfront things, right? Really, if you're bringing your car to me, and especially if you have an appointment, I already know what you need. Really what I need to know is that you've brought it to me. And how am I going to get in touch with you once I know kind of what needs to be done on the car? Those are really the key things. And Jeff's probably heard it too many times, but I'm a Dunkin' guy, right? I know about where I need to put in my order on the mobile app, so that by the time I get to the one that's right here by the office, I walk past the 7 people in line and I pick up my coffee and I walk back out the door, because I'm trying to prioritize my time around all the things that are important. And I think particularly out of COVID, we're seeing that time is one of those commodities that, everybody's trying to figure out better ways to manage it and better ways to handle it. And that's why, you've seen the Uber and Uber Eats and DoorDash and a lot of the kind of the gig platforms, have been tremendously successful because we're offloading some of those tasks that are still getting done, right? There's just a value in having it done. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing, particularly in the GoMoto side of things, is now I can check in and get all the things answered that I need to. And I get asked what my phone number is and my email. And, I can do that while an advisor's got 2 or 3 people waiting to talk to them, right? We've kind of become attuned and accustomed to that. And so that, I think, is really one of the differentiators, as well as being able to, match whatever that customer expectation is. If I get off of work at 5 and the dealership closes at 5:30 and I'm a 40-minute drive, how am I going to get my keys, right? And so we've, even down to like the 365 unit, where I send you a QR code and you're able to go back and retrieve your keys. It doesn't matter what time of day it is, you can do it on a timeline that's convenient for you. So just particularly from the GoMoto side of things, I think that's been one of the differentiators. But I know even, figuring out other and better ways to get information to customers. Jeff, you guys have been on the advanced service side of things, and some of the other tools. You guys have been working through how can we reach customers wherever they're at.
Right. The couple of big things we have with advanced service are pictures and videos. Those have really kind of exploded in the last couple of years, where videos are such a customers are just fascinated by what the underside of their car looks like. They never get to see it otherwise. And so when a technician takes the video, they're inclined to watch it. So we keep careful track of, not only how many videos technicians made, but did they get sent to the customer? How long did it take the customer to watch it? What are the results of ROs that had videos that didn't have videos? Are we selling more stuff? And those numbers are pretty dramatic when you have a video on a repair order. What the difference is. But also with advanced service, we've got a thing called e-approval, and what that does is it's not only a method to kind of text with a customer to say, do you want to do this? But we present all of the information about the technician recommendations in a very consumer-friendly way. One of the things we have is, I would call them internal, we call them sales drivers. And when a technician makes a recommendation matched into service price guide so that nobody has to type in anything extra, is what does this thing mean? What happens if I don't replace it? And what does this do on the car? So each one has about 4 sentences. They usually end with, if you don't get this done, your family's gonna all die. So we want to make sure that there's a sense of urgency around each one of the items. And when somebody reads it, they're like, what's a bushing? I don't know why I've got to get this thing done, and it just explains it. And so what we find has worked really well is when the technician takes a video, the video gets sent automatically to the customer before they get the estimate. And then the advisor finishes putting together the estimate then, so that the consumer watches the video. A few minutes later, they get, here's all the things that you're going to need to have done in order to get this repaired. It answers all the questions. We thought through things like, if this is a diagnostic estimate, maybe we're going to waive the diagnostic piece if you get the repair done. And so we recalculate all the estimates and things like that within the little app of e-approval, so that the customer's got everything that they need, and it works really well. And one thing we've noticed is that customers don't always approve and decline things on e-approval, but when e-approval is sent, the closing ratios are dramatically higher. So the customer may not actually push the button on e-approval to say, yeah, I approve, but they might pick up the phone and have a conversation with the advisor, and they're much more likely to actually approve the work. So And the other thing we notice with e-approval is that when a customer does decline and they say, no, I don't want to do that, that's really just round one of the advisor's opportunity. So the advisor then, he just got something that came in, said the customer declined. He might pick up the phone and say, I don't know that you quite understood the urgency of this particular repair. So all of that works together in a very seamless way that everything kind of happens automatically. And we make it, what I call, we make it easier to do the right thing than the wrong thing. And then the right thing tends to happen a lot of the time.
Well, plus it also marries up, and I think about I was at a Toyota store, right? And candidly, one of the things that you would do is show and sell, right? Like you want somebody to appreciate what's wrong with their car, right? I'm going to bring you back to the shop. I'm going to show you all the things that are wrong with it, right? And then we'll talk about what needs to be done. But anymore, whether it's the attorneys said, hey, don't bring anybody back in the shop where it's loud and wet and they're going to fall, or they're not at the store, right? How do I convey kind of that same information to them? And so to Jeff's point, it gives us some really good opportunities to be able to kind of increase the transparency, right? This is your car. Here's the things that are great with it. Here's the things that are wrong with it. We want you to have the best driving experience possible. So here's how we get it back to where it needs to be. And then we can also tie that back into say, and if you let me know by, 2:45, I can have your car back on the road by 4, right? So we're trying to also kind of drive that sense of urgency to look at opportunities where I don't have a technician that's sitting idle waiting for that response that comes back, right? So anything we can do to keep the wrenches turning, keep the vehicles kind of moving, almost like in restaurants, turning the tables, right? Like that's the goal, is to be able to generate the revenue as much as you can and do it as often as you can.
Cory, you're showing your age that you used to take customers back into the service bay. It's been a long time since we've been doing that. Richard, what's your take on Reynolds e-approval and videos and things like that customers get?
Well, we are a Service Snap customer, and actually some of the metrics show right now that it's a little underutilized. We definitely have seen the impact of it, but there's more to do. We're definitely drilling into that right now. I mean, that's what's front and center for us right now, is getting some better utilization with some of the features of Snap that are a little underutilized.
That is something that encourages me, though, that the reports are all there for you to know that. So it's not just, if you want to go find out how who's doing what, which technicians are killing it, which technicians are not using it at all, that takes about 5 seconds for you to go run the reports to be able to see all that. So
there are very few places to hide on those reports.
Right. Yeah.
So, and ServiceSnap came to us probably, 3 months ago, probably 90 days. And we concentrated, when we did the install, on our quick service department. We have an express and accelerated between our Honda and Acura. And we really concentrated on the install there, and seen a lot of great results out of there. We saw closing ratios. We track with our service report cards. We use the integrated electronic multi-point with Reynolds, and we filter it out with a red check for one-step service only. So tickets that are written in express that have a red check. And when we started tracking it, we were below 10%, and now we're above 30% on a monthly average for closing ratios for service, one-step service tickets with a red check on them. And to understand some of that, you're going to get ones with multiple red checks on, and so that kind of dilutes the number a little bit per car, but we're seeing a lot of success with it, particularly in our quick service. Our main shop, we've got some pretty good users, and then we're probably underutilizing it in our main shop. And so that's where we've got a meeting next Wednesday. 1 week from today, we've scheduled a meeting with our technicians and our advisors. And that's going to be the focus of that meeting, is getting utilization up on that. So, but I definitely can report that, along the lines of the study that Reynolds has come out with, as we add these tools, we see increases. And looking forward to the rollout of GoMoto, official rollout of GoMoto in a few weeks. So, we're looking across the report here that, the Golden Metrics report that we just got out from, I guess you guys haven't released it yet, probably releasing it today. And we are class 5, as far as our volume. We're not in a urban area, but we are the only Honda and Acura dealer in Western North Carolina, which is just attributes, Honda's never seen the reason to put another point in the area, because the family's done such a great job with the business over the years. And so we take care of a lot of customers. And so our volume tracks with some, in these metrics with the class 5 service departments with as far as volume and hours and ROs. And I can tell you that $6.60 of ELR, we have realized untold thousands of dollars every day in extra gross by bringing Apple Tree into a more modern experience for our customers using these tools. And
with Honda, it's really easy to just do the maintenance. And there's enough people that say, yeah, I like to just do the maintenance, that they'll just come in. And you're right. If you're not thinking about, a process to do a decent inspection and make the recommendations to a customer, there's enough maintenance that, you'll just keep pushing them through. But once you implement the process, to your point, people are going to say yes, a lot of times when you just ask the question, hey, here's a thing that you need to have done to your car, and they take pride in their ownership. So, they want to say yes and make sure their car's running as well as it can be. So
we like to maintain the quality of their investment.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I drive a CRV, and it's like my favorite car I've ever had. So it's and the maintenance part is so simple, and it's just you take it in and you say what the what the lights on the dashboard say, and everything's taken care of.
Yep, it's a great business model. There's no doubt. Honda's done a great job over the years. One of the things that the report talks about is just keeping the technician involved, keeping them productive, and having spent my formative years as a technician, I get to see the service department through those eyes, through that lens, and understand it, at a different level than maybe people that never did the job.
The Vesperio Performance Academy offers custom-tailored solutions for service advisors and leaders. We allow you to select exactly what you want based on your store's needs. After taking our customized learning path survey, we use those results to tailor a learning path specifically for you. You'll have access to our complete learning library, and you can test what you've learned with our knowledge checks. And for managers, our easy-to-use admin dashboard allows you to easily see current activity from your team and access reports quickly. Vesperio's Performance Academy promotes advisor and manager engagement and communication by including the manager after every concept an advisor completes. Vesperio also allows users the ability to add custom dealership assets and processes that all live in one location. To get a look inside the Performance Academy or to get your team started today, go to Vesperio.com. That's Visperio.com.
And along those lines of productivity, just began talks with a company right now that's going to come in and put robots into our service and parts department that are going to service parts runners. So we are going to effectively close down the back counter if it goes as planned. And we're going to put robots in, and the parts counter guys are going to load the robots up, and they're going to go deliver the parts to the technicians in their bays.
I love that.
That's just trying to keep the technicians productive, give them tools, the service snap stuff for the videos and the pictures. It's a big shop, so we automated our dispatching a long time ago. So when you're ready for the next job, you locate. There's no guy playing favorites. That's actually, when we go to market, we rarely hire from the outside. But one of the things that we tout when we're in the market for a technician, if we have to go outside of our current pool of technicians, one of the things that we advertise is electronic dispatching. No favoritism.
Yep.
You get equal access to the ROs, and sometimes technicians are caught in situations in other dealers or other places where they're fighting a human dispatch system, And it's something that's appreciated by all of our technicians. And it definitely increases productivity. The guys that want to work, they get all the work they can. They keep locating, keep fixing cars. Our customers get happy, and our technicians get paid.
Well, and you hit it on the head, right? Like you can't manage what you can't measure. And so being able to have the insights around how effective your technicians are, right? Like sometimes, and we've seen this with advanced service, sometimes you figure out that your best tech isn't always your best tech, right? Like he's turning a lot of hours, right? But he's not saying, hey, Mr. Customer, we recognize that you got a drive booth that's open, that need to have replaced, because that's not what they were here for, right? And so being able to, not only have insights into how all those recommendations come through, but look for trends and patterns, right? We're always recommending the same things, because that tells me that, we maybe aren't doing the quality multi-point inspection that we need to be doing. Or, are we telling the customer they need to replace every single fluid on their car every time they come in, right? Like some of those pattern type things. But then also making sure that it's kind of sometimes it's just that validation, right? And I think about it from the technician side, right? I recommend all kinds of things, and then it gets up front, and because it was busy, we didn't follow through on it, or we didn't present it to the customer. And when it's baked into part of the process, right? Like that's where it really has to be. Then it really becomes something where now we have to present it and at least ask, right? Like that's our job, is to go and ask, and hey, do you want to have this done? And if they say no, that's cool, right? And no problems. Then you start going down kind of your what your options are to try and back in from there, right? Is it 90 days, same as cash, right? We can get you, financed with our provider, or, do we want to go ahead and set up an appointment for the next time that you come in to have that taken, or, even doing follow-ups and marketing and things of that nature. But a lot of it, to your point, comes down to, are things being done fairly, and is it equitable, and is it good for everybody that's involved? Is it good for the tech, good for the store, and good for the customer? And, when it passes the check on all those, then it results in success.
Along those lines, I just finished up my quarterly review. We do have advanced service as well as service touch, and you get a quarterly consulting. Ryan and I just I actually was driving back and did an audio version of the quarterly consultation for both of our stores here, and the insights provided, specifically to the store through advanced service, and the consultations that come on. We recently entered into year 5 of our advanced service, and you can just see the graphs of the growth, the areas of opportunity. And when you're getting that constant feedback and those quarterly reviews of the data that's compiled, it gives you actionable intelligence and finds those spots that you need to focus on, and like I said, from the consultation call yesterday, that's we called a meeting, and we're going to cover the utilization for some people of our ServiceNav application. And so that's an insight provided by the quarterly review of advanced service. So again, can't say enough about the products and the support that Reynolds does, and they are our biggest partner by far. We do have a couple of other vendors that we use for other utilities that we feel are necessary, but far and away, by orders of magnitude, Reynolds is almost an integral part of every turn of our process in every area of our fixed operations.
I like what you said earlier. So there's nowhere to hide with the Reynolds reports. I'm going to steal that. That's a really good quote. But yeah, you're right. And then when you stack onto that the consulting piece, it's really good. That is something that I think we focused on that a lot over the last several years by adding the service log, which literally just tracks every move that's made on the repair order down to the station and the user ID who did it. I call it the who did what when report. So that a lot of times what happens is when somebody comes to you and they say what happened, you're going to spend the next hour and a half of your life trying to figure out what happened on this repair order, and we put it all there, every single action that took place, so you can see when jobs were added, when they were taken off, when did discounts go on, when was it sent to parts, when did it come back from parts, all that's in one place. So the logging that takes place really does hold the everyone to account, and that's part of the secret sauce, I think.
I don't call it the who did what when. I call it Reynolds forensics.
I like that better.
I can tell you whose keystroke, what keyboard, what station, what time, and there's if I've had to make over the years, I've had to make a couple of phone calls, and we know who made those changes, and who did what they did, whether they're owning up to it or not. So, there's definitely accountability in the reporting and the consultations. The consultative part of advanced service opens your eyes to some of those opportunities, keeps your eyes trained on things to look for, and gives you intelligence, insights into your business that are actionable if you choose to act upon them. And that's where we try to make the difference for our customers and our employees, is when we have areas of opportunity, we turn them into action.
Talking about technology and on the customer side, I could see where with kiosks and certain things, which it's a lot better that, again, COVID changed us. We're used to, I got my haircut yesterday. I didn't talk to anybody. I scheduled it on an app, so we're getting more acclimated to that. But depending on the demographics of where your store is, I could see where there might be a lag time for the customers, because technology can be scary. I mean, going back to groceries, I remember when, they first started putting self-checkouts there and people lost their minds, man, but now that's where I'd rather go.
Yep.
Right. But on the video MPI side, Richard and I have talked about this in a previous episode. That's a no-brainer, man. Look, the word transparency in all industries has been used so much that I'm sick of it, but it's true. It's used because it's true. That takes care of it all. Because, any mistrust that, because again, it's, and people have made this correlation before, more times than not, you'll trust your doctor when he says some things that you need to have done. And you don't know what the hell he's talking about, right? Because it's all intricate. Well, technicians, that's the same thing, but there's been this mistrust, and the video MPI to me is the biggest light bulb aha moment. And you were talking about how the videos have just helped in pictures. Because again, going to that accountability thing, there's no guesswork with the customer,
We talked about walking the customer out to the car, and that was part of our process many years ago. This has, in a virtual sense, replaced that trip to the car. I mean, it's literally backing up, restoring that part of the process, and reintegrating it to a part of a very effective part of what we used to do before we were told not to take the customers out. There's tools, and there's a lot of liability taking that customer out to the shop. So we quit it altogether, and this is restoring and reintegrating that part of the process, and it's doing it virtually, so we don't have to worry about getting grease on somebody's shoes or something much worse than that. And so very excited about it. And the other thing I'll say is that it is a tool that has had unintended positive consequences for us. And one of the things that it did that was very easy for us to see was that we had some advisors that were on the lower end of productivity. And when the multi-point, when the videos are going directly to the customers, we saw increases in their sales, and their closings. And I believe that it drove confidence in their selling and recommendations to their customers, because the sales are nothing closes itself, but you were gaining an approval, and the customers were pushing and are pushing the advisor They get the video, they take a look at it, and then they're calling the customer going, I need an estimate because I want to get the stuff done. And so what we've also seen is a lift from our advisors, especially some of the lower performing advisors, is provided them a lift and more confidence. And so over time, we're seeing them not just closing on the video stuff, but just the initial write-up, the recommendations, the time and mileage recommendations, you see a lift in that too. So some of the unintended consequences, or maybe intended consequences, were that we saw an across-the-board improvement in our service consultants.
Yeah, there's one thing that technicians love cars, and that comes through when they make the videos. That and that expertise. There's nothing like the legitimacy of a well-trained technician to really give some gravity to the weight of bringing a car to a dealership. And so, that's an important piece. Technicians, sometimes they'll fuss because technicians, they like to do things the way they've always done them. But once they get over the hump of realizing that, this, number one, it's not that hard. Number two, to your point, I might have some skills in this particular arena, and this helps me sell more work that I'm going to get paid for. All those things help. One of the things we've done in Reynolds, it's just part of the F1 help. When you have a question in the system, you can hit the F1 key to view it. We've added 2 videos that are really, both of them are really well produced. And if you just search for video training in our video library in F1, there's one of them is about 5 minutes, just to say, hey, here's what a video looks like. And then there's another one that's about 20 minutes, and it goes through kind of the philosophy behind it. And so, both of those things are really well produced, and we think help get the technician off to a really good start when they're taking that leap.
Yeah, the other flip side, and Brandon, you hit on it, is like being able to convey that. Not only is it transparency, but it's also like repeatable identically, right? And what I mean by that is, I can remember being at the store, right, and I would walk somebody back, and I would show them all the things, and they're like, "That's great. I am not a car person. I need you to call somebody else and tell them what it is," or I'm going to come back later with my friend, and so what the video allows us to do is, now that I've got it recorded, right, I send it to, I got Jeff's car in the shop, his CRV is up on the lift, I send Jeff the video. If he doesn't know what I'm talking about, he can send it to one of his friends. It's like, hey, I'm trying to find out if this is on the up and up, right? So in addition to not just providing the transparency and the legitimacy to it, it also makes it scalable, or now, I have that ability to kind of compare this, like go phone a friend and say, hey, is this really something that needs to be done? Is an air filter really important to my car? They're telling me I need one, and it's $47. Do I really need to have that done? And somebody who knows cars will be like, absolutely, right? You're going to pay more in gas if that thing's clogged up and dirty, and it's going to cause your car to run like crap. And so that helps to be able to kind of scale that instance of that experience, even outside of just the necessarily the first party recipient.
It's kind of fun. We track how many times the videos are watched, and it's every now and then you'll get somebody who's watched the video 7 or 8 times. It's like, well, that's kind of cool. So
it's shared about 30% of the time, a little over 30% of the time it gets shared.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
I pride myself in being one of the most skeptical consumers ever. You can't sell me anything because I'm already on the defense, man. That's just, I've always been that way. But if you show me you need this, and I can see it with my own eye, then the onus is on me. And if I choose not to get that repaired, and then I break down on the side of the road, I know that's on me now. To me, it's selling without selling, man, because you put that responsibility on the consumer at that point. Okay, you don't have to have it done, but if you don't, you just saw it with your own eyes, so you're not constantly wondering, is this person trying to get something over on me,
The other thing that's really nice, too, is if you do say, no, I don't want to get this done, we retain all of that information. So the next time you're making an appointment, we show it front and center. Hey, last time you were in, we said you needed brakes. Are you ready for those? We make sure it's front and center for the advisor when the advisor is writing the repair order. And we retain all the information, all the parts, all the even the conversations with the technician and the customer, all that. We retain all that, so we've got all that when the customer comes back in. And maybe they said, hey, next time I'll do it. Okay, I recorded that. Hey, it's next time. Do you still want to do this? And we've got a report that shows tell me the number of times when the customer came back and they accepted a previously declined service. And that's, tens of thousands of dollars a month in many cases. People just, the next time they come in, they remember that, I was yellow last time, now I'm red, I need to go ahead and get that done. So making that part of the process is a critical thing too.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things alone. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say that'll, again, I know I get stuck on the video MPI. I just do. That alone would just make sales go astronomically higher, I would think. Just, again, 30,000 foot view, just outside looking in, that right there alone is just confidence. Anyway, go ahead, Richard. Sorry.
Well, as you leverage one of these tools on top of the other, and you empower your associates, whether it be the advisor or the technician or the parts counter, one of the effects is, and it's a conversation that we have with prospective service advisors, consultants at this point, is that it's not a sales job by any stretch of the imagination. There's with the estimating software, the video MPIs, the estimates, the e-approvals, the videos, all of that stuff surrounds you. And so when you got a customer that shows up, makes the choice to be here with us to service their car, they come in with a brake noise, and you send them a video showing that their brakes need to be replaced. You send them an estimate. Many times you don't even have to talk to the customer. But at that point, well, you've already captured that customer. They made the choice to do business with you that day. And even if you pick up the phone call and say, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, you came in today with your brakes making some noise, and you need some brakes, and it's going to be $300. That's a very anticlimactic and a very small part of the process. If you take care of all of the other parts of the process and just take care of your customer from a rapport and trust building aspect, the actual closing a sale becomes almost an afterthought, especially as you leverage all of this technology and empower your associates along the whole chain, every step of that process. There's just, when you're talking about a pencil, a clipboard, and a phone call versus estimates, e-approvals, text messages, videos, all of those kinds of things, and the constant contact communication that you're creating with that customer, it builds a trust, it builds a rapport, and the actual closing of a sale is probably the least dramatic part of the transaction. We train them to make sure that you're getting approvals from extended warranty companies, you're getting payments, your ROs, your lines are structured properly, that you're compliant for warranty, you're writing the lines correctly and auditing the tickets. And so the service advisor of an older generation that was, the car guy that was, making all these recommendations to you, and that part of it is not quite as prevalent as a overall part of the job now. We were hiring people with a different, disc profile that are highly detail oriented to make sure that their repair orders are compliant, to meet all of the different aspects of compliance that we have to deal with. Making sure the taxes and the fees are added, the tire tax, the battery tax are part of it. Just all the different ways, who's paying? Is it a Honda oil change? Is it a maintenance? Is it extended warranty? Yeah, just structuring the repair order properly, and all of that stuff becomes really important, and the actual selling takes a back seat in the overall spectrum of the job, because you are leveraging and empowering all of the people involved in the transaction all the way along the way. So it's definitely changed the business for the better. It's a better experience for the consumer, because when you come in for brakes and you have all of the evidence laid out in front of you that you need brakes, the trust goes up and the approval becomes pretty easy at that point.
Yeah. Guys, we're getting close on time. I definitely want to get to the what's next part of this, especially on the reconditioning, that because I just did an episode about that. You guys, I don't know if you just want to follow that outline, but incorporating AI into the service process. But I definitely want to get to the reconditioning part.
The other piece that I did want to circle back on one thing, and it's, we've talked a lot about consumer experience. And I think one thing that's also really important to consider as we look at all these things is like consumers have a very, very high level of expectation because of all the other things that they're interacting with, right? You use the grocery store example, right? We went into Walmart the other day and they had all of their self-checkout lanes locked down, and they had lines that were like all the way out into soft lines, like all into the close. And it's like we've come very accustomed to that, but we're used to interacting with everything digitally, right? I get a pre-check-in thing when I go to the doctor that has me fill out all the details, and I can order just about anything that I want to, whether it's food, whether it's groceries, whether it's whatever, and either pick it up or have it delivered, or we've become a very digital reliant society, but we also then have that expectation that like all of these things are going to be digital interactions. And so, whether it is from, online appointment setting, we continue to see that rise, and, continue to see mobile being the preferred method to go in and set up all those elements. Whether it's, tablet reception on the service drive at the customer's car, right? It's the place that they're, singing along to the XM radio or, whatever, like they're comfortable there. How do we say, cool, let's, talk about the things that you need to do on your car, and, letting them know and using communication tools around what's going on with their car. And then once we find things with e-approval and sending the invoice and saying, hey, great news, your car's all ready to go, right? You just pay here, and it's a very seamless and effortless process when they arrive at the store. And I think that's really one of the key areas that like we're laser focused on, is how can we continue to build tools that are not only incredibly successful and profitable for the store, but that also have such a positive impact on that expectation that the customer has for dealing digitally with your store. And so I think that's really one of the kind of the key areas, is how can we continue to leverage some of those other technologies, emerging or established, to be able to positively augment the customer journey at your store.
Well, definitely. While I was at Amplify, I was a fly on the wall of a conversation between Chris Walsh and the SO2 guys about how AI is emerging and transcribing voicemails, catching customer sentiment in those voicemails, and getting those communications where they belong. There's a lot of push right now to put AI into BDCs. We're not quite there yet, in my opinion, but it's coming, as far as next steps go. The recent acquisition of TSD, really excited about the prospect of having that integrated into the process in the write-up, and as well, hopefully we'll get that integrated into the GoMoto in the future. We've been a ReconTrack customer for a year and a half now, and we could not do our reconditioning at the level we do without ReconTrack. And they just rolled out the Vision merge with it, and full disclosure, haven't had the time to dig into that merger of those two applications, but I'm familiar with AutoVision, familiar with Recon, and I'm excited to see how they mashed them up.
Yeah, it is kind of one of those marriages that makes all the sense in the world, right? Like, not only understanding how to acquire and how to retail vehicles, but how do we limit the time that it spends in recon until we can get it frontline ready, right? And so I'm also fortunate enough to oversee some of the ReconVision components of it, and it really is it is a game changing product, right? For shepherding kind of those cars through inspection, through whatever channels they need to fall into, whether that's mechanical repair, body or glass, or any of those different kinds of things that you have, where there are these really specialized flows that happen for vehicle reconditioning, and every time you miss a mark, it costs you money, right? right? Because the car depreciates, over time. And so, even like really, really good operators who are like, hey, we've got it dialed in, we're doing great. We've brought ReconVision into the store, and still, in many cases, shaved 2 or 3 days off. And if you do that enough times, it adds up to an awful lot of money. And so that is one of the things where, from an organization, we're looking at a lot of different ways that we can incorporate both kind of process things that help, but then also, are there other things that we can do with data? And then, Richard, you hit it. The Spark AI announcement at Amplify, yesterday is really kind of, letting the industry know that we're incorporating and looking to incorporate where it makes sense, right? It's not going to be a replacement for everything, but it's about equipping with tools, right? Just like we've been talking about for the last bit, is like, how can we put better tools to make our people more productive and more successful and better? And I think that'll kind of be the iteration, is like between tools like advanced service and ReconVision and GoMoto and all the other things that we do exceptionally well in the fixed space. How can we continue to make them better and leverage technologies to do a lot of the kind of the heavy lifting, so that when it comes back to the advisor, just like you said with the video, right? It's a lot of it's kind of already done. The video is taken, and we know what we need to do, and how can we incorporate some of that into tools that are going to help take advisors and technicians and everybody to the next level.
I see so many opportunities for it, as it continues to emerge. On the parts side of it, I can see definitive, tangible, whatever you want to say, gains in efficiency in parts with the AI, and then just the interactions with the customers. The BDC side of it, as that develops and matures, that's going to be a real game changer. I know that there's some companies out there that are floating some solutions right now, and don't think that we're at a level of maturity, at least from what I've seen so far in the market, that it's a good replacement. But exponentially, this AI continues to fold on top of itself and grow and grow and grow. So I feel that it'll probably won't be long until you'll be able to do some of the BDC stuff very consistently at a high quality, very high quality level, with an interaction with the customer. And so, what's next, what we're looking at is the AI coming in and being a part of our everyday process. Excited to see what Recon and AutoVision do. ReconTrack has done so much to keep the desk, from the desk through parts and service, right down through detail and vendors, and we've gotten our process down measurably from the day that we take it out of pre-recon and create the repair order until it's in detail to about 1.4 days. And so from the time that we open that repair order until it's in detail, we average about 1.4 days. And with the way the market continues to change in pre-owned, getting that speed to market is vital to getting that in a retail environment where they can move it out before there's significant changes in the market, and that helps ensure the profitability of that department.
The thing I like most about ReconTrack or ReconVision now is the simplicity and how easy it is to see where the bottlenecks are. Because if you've got a process that's maybe step 1, you're able to get 10 widgets through, and step 2, you got 5 widgets through, you don't need to be focusing on step 1. Your capacity on step 1 is way more than what your capacity is on step 2. So it really helps you just to say, kind of one step at a time, fix where the bottleneck is, and then you move on to the next bottleneck. And that's what makes your numbers go down as far as just making the whole process more efficient. So the thing that I like, again, about ReconVision is it's definitely a fixed operations focused solution. And that's why Cory mentioned kind of the genius of matching it up with AutoVision, as AutoVision's a front end solution. How do I sell the cars faster and get the cars and all that? And by putting both of those things together in a real seamless way, we track the whole process from the time that you acquire the vehicle to the time that you sell the vehicle. And and having the fixed ops piece in there that Cory and I are, spent our careers in that arena. That's a really natural fit for kind of this new holistic solution. So I think it's a good step forward. And when you said I couldn't live without the Recon product, I have heard that so many times from people. I mean, it's just such a simple but effective solution that it's great. I'm glad it's working for you.
A quick analogy that I have on this that I've talked about before internally here. I've got a couple of more than a couple of kids, and we have an app, as most parents do at this point, that GPS locates them while with their phone in their pocket, and in much the same way that I don't have to call them or text them and say, "Hey, where are you at?" I just pop an app open, and I can see, you are at school, or you're at the wrestling facility, or you're at your girlfriend's house, or you're eating tacos or whatever. I can verify where my kid is without talking to him. He doesn't even know I'm checking up on him. And when you pull that Recon track or ReconVision now app out of you, fired up on your phone, you can see I've got 12 cars waiting in detail. I've only got 3 in mechanical inspection, and I got 12 cars in detail. Whether you're on the desk, you're in parts, you're over fixed or something like that, you can see instantly. It eliminates all of the desk manager calling, "Where's this car at? Where is that?" It eliminates so many unnecessary conversations. It just lays everything out right there, and anybody at any time can pop that app open, whether it's on your phone or on your desktop, and understand immediately where we are in the process with cars. And we've countless times they're trying to do a deal, and they can go in there and see what the mechanical estimate is. If the car's still involved in a process, they can go in there and see if the estimate's been approved, and they know what the recon costs are, and they can work a deal on the car while it's going through the shop, and they already know what the cost is, to build that deal. So it's just a productivity tool for us. It's an efficiency tool, and it keeps everybody on the same page without anybody even have to pick up a phone or call or text or do any of that kinds of things. And so it has been a fantastic tool for us.
Yeah, the other piece that's really instrumental is it's also a really good accountability tool, right? Because it logs all the pieces of everything that happens through it. So in addition to being able to very easily determine, where your log jams are, if there are things where I need to go back and look, and something comes back from the front, and they're like, "Hey, you didn't tell me this car needed brakes, and we sold it, and now the customer's back, they're mad, they need brakes," right? Those approvals are user based, right? It went to your used car manager or your desk manager, and they're the ones who made the decision, and I can tell you right when they did it, right? So it is, for the record, I would like to show that on thus and such date, my client said no, right? It's irrefutable. And, so that it helps draw out some of those back and forth, right? You didn't tell me it was that. No, it's all part of the detail that's in the system. And like you said, for a detailer, right, they go and they get their next thing, right? And it gives us a tremendous degree of flexibility, not only to move cars around, but, to really just kind of let the system manage it, just like you were saying about dispatching. Let the system kind of manage it, and on the other side of it, we're the benefactors because we get the cars through, so we're able to get more money for them, right? They're not going to depreciate, and we're going to be able to get them out time to line faster. So now we have hopefully more selection of what's available for customers to view online or in person, or however they're getting their information.
That's it's pretty good go through of a lot of the tools that Reynolds offers, and we're a Reynolds customer. They are our partner, and we couldn't do what we do and have the success we have day in and day out, and realize the gains and take advantage of the opportunities that come our way every day without the tools that we have incorporated into our process that are provided by Reynolds. So, hats off to you guys for the great job that you guys do. And it's a historic company, a historic provider in our industry. And you guys you're not lazy. You don't rest on your laurels. You're continuously innovating and bringing new and better products and improving the ones that you have on a very consistent basis. And that's why we chose here at Apple Tree to make sure when we were making those choices, we made that choice to grab and utilize those tools with Reynolds instead of a bunch of different outside vendors.
This episode was made possible thanks to a proud partnership with Vesperio, which provides tailored solutions to ignite automotive dealership fixed operations, performance, and profit.